This is the Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfiq Farazan. It's the 2nd of August 2024, and let's start off with some interesting news coming your way from the Department of Government Printing, and it's about something that has led to much controversy over the recent months. Now, the amended online safety bill has been published by the Department of Government Printing, and it was available on their website since this morning. Now, last week, the Cabinet of Ministers granted the approval to publish the revised online safety bill in the Government Gazette so that it can be tabled in Parliament. Now, major concerns are raised regarding the online safety bill when it was first introduced by multiple quarters in Sri Lankan society, with major allegations citing that this could be an attempt to crack down on online dissent as well. Now, however, now the revised online safety bill has been published by the Government Gazette, and Public Security Minister Tiran Alas said that the amendments in this bill were made following consultations and discussions with various sectors. Now, he said that the amended bill will be presented to Parliament soon. Now, moving on, it's election fever here in Sri Lanka with less than 8 weeks for the much anticipated 2024 September 21st presidential election. Now, so far, 10 presidential hopefuls have placed their deposits. Now, you might be wondering, who are these individuals? Who are they? Do we know them? Well, yes, I have the list for you. Let's go one by one. It's President Ranil Wickremesinghe as an independent, Sarath Keerthiratne as an independent, and then it's Oshula Herath from the Abhinava Nivahal Peramuna, ASP Liyanage, Sri Lanka Labour Party, Sajith Premadasa Samagi Jana Balawega, PWSK Bandaranayaka, National Development Front, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, National Democratic Front, KK Piyadasa, an independent, Siritinga Jayasuriya, United Socialist Party, and Ajanta Disoisa Ruhunu Janata Peramuna. So those are the 10 presidential hopefuls so far who have placed their deposits with the Election Commission. Now, there may be more, and only time will tell, because nominations end on the 15th of August. Now, as we run up to the election on the 21st of September, more and more developments are taking place. Now, the Election Commission announced that it received 153 complaints ahead of the presidential election, which mainly involved the violation of election laws. Now, these complaints mainly surround on certain aspects, that's the abuse of public resources, improper appointments and transfers. Now, the Election Commission has assured that it has taken prompt action regarding all these complaints. Now, in contrast, something interesting, Sri Lanka Police has received only one, I repeat, only one complaint related to the presidential election. Now, additionally, one of the election monitoring organizations, PAFREL, which is led by Rohan Hettiarachchi, its executive director, has noted that they received 40 separate complaints in connection to the presidential election that will take place in September. Now, sticking to the presidential election, security is a major concern. Now, senior DIGs from all the provinces have been summoned to Colombo for a major discussion with regard to the presidential election. Now, this discussion is going to be chaired by the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Security, that's Vyani Gunatilaka, and this meeting will also feature the senior DIG in charge of election affairs as well, among other police officers. Now, the Ministry of Public Security has announced that officers have already been assigned, that's police officers have been already assigned to 11 districts. And for the remaining districts, police officers will be deployed during the course of the day. Now, additionally, for the Colombo District Election Office, a DIG and a SSP will be leading a separate team when we come with regard to the security for the presidential election. Now, in related news, Lalit Patinayaka was assigned to the vital role of senior DIG in charge of administrative affairs yesterday. Now, this is the highest ranking position in Sri Lanka Police after the police chief or the Inspector General of Police. Now, that appointment was made yesterday by the National Police Commission. Now, Previously, this position was held by none other than Nilanta Jayawardena. However, the position was left vacant after he was sent on compulsory leave. Now, thereafter, let's go through this process a bit. Now, after Nilanta Jayawardena was sent on compulsory leave, the National Election Commission had written to the police chief to make a recommendation on who should be appointed. However, even until the 29th of July, as no proper recommendation had been given, the police commission had decided to go ahead with the appointment of Lalit Patnaik. Now, the National Election Commission emphasized that they made this appointment with consultation with the Attorney General of Sri Lanka. Now, sticking with the presidential election, now everyone's wondering who is supporting whom, which party is going to form an alliance, and who is going to run for president. Now, earlier I mentioned to you the 10 individuals who have already placed their deposits to run for the presidential election. Now, last night, the Mahajana Eksat Peramuna, led by Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, reached a decision to support President Ranil Wickremesinghe in his run for re-election. Now, the Mahajana Eksat Peramuna's Central Committee met last evening under the chairmanship of Dinesh Gunawardena. Now, notably, two of the MPs who entered Parliament from the Mahajana Eksat Peramuna contested from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Now, sticking with the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, there is still major concerns surrounding who are they going to support, because we've got different opinions coming in from the SLPP. Now, the Matara district SLPP district committee that's led by Kanchana Wijayasekara had passed a resolution yesterday to reverse the SLPP's Politburo decision to appoint a candidate from within the party. Now, Kanchana Wijayasekara had openly said that he would back Ranil Wickremesinghe for president. Now, at the same time, another resolution was also moved to remove the present General Secretary of the party, that's Attorney at Law Sagar Karyavasam, and replace him with Minister Ramesh Patigana. Now, over in Kegal as well, SLPP MP Udayakanta Gunatilaka also announced his support for President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Now, at the same time, while these developments are taking place, the SLPP leadership met last afternoon in Colombo. The whole meeting was led by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and also featured top key figures from the SLPP. Now, the discussions focused on fielding a presidential candidate from within the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Now, when questioned about whether the SLPP would be going in for more discussions with the president and whether they will be fielding a individual candidate from within their party, Mahinda Rajapaksa had said that they will move forward separately as a party. However, there are discussions. But Mahinda Rajapaksa has confirmed that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna will be fielding its own candidate for the presidential election. Now, that indicates a shift away from supporting President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Now, recently, it was announced that 92 MPs were in fact backing President Ranil Wickremesinghe in his bid for re-election as the president. Now, with the presidential election just 8 weeks away or less, views are being expressed about the number of people who are actually backing the president. Now, Professor G.L. Peris is the former chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Now, speaking to reporters yesterday, Professor Peris emphasized that the number 92 is incorrect. Now, he says major concerns are surrounding this number, and he also emphasized that it's not the number of MPs who are supporting the president to run for election that should be taken into consideration, but the will of a majority of the people. Let's have a look and have a listen to what Professor G.L. Peris had to say yesterday.
92 SLPP MPs supporting him is not correct at all. The majority of those who attended that meeting went there under the impression that this was a routine meeting which had been convened by the president, and some of them got up and left the hall when they realized what the true objective of the meeting was. In any case, the critical factor is this, not how many people, how many members of parliament indicated their decision to support the president, but whether they are able to carry their supporters at the grassroots level. Therefore, these people who are proclaiming their support for the president are certainly not able to inspire confidence in their supporters and to persuade their supporters to join them in this journey. There's also the stature of Mahinda Rajapaksa, who embodies this party. Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa is taking a different position, a completely different point of view. Then the whole country knows why these members of parliament are now raising their hands in support of Mr. Wickramasinghe. They have been enjoying privileges of various kinds which are definitely unethical, and some of it is plainly illegal. It is having to do with bar permits, litigation before the courts, and various other favors that they have received which make them dependent upon the incumbent president.
Well, that was Professor G.L. Pevis, the chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, emphasizing on his position regarding the support that is claimed to be given to President Ranil Wickramasinghe from the SLPP. Now, at the same time, something interesting is also developing. That's the provincial council elections. Now, we've not had provincial council elections for years now. Even the local government elections were also delayed. President's Council M.S. Mandivan, representing the Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi, says that he is moving a private member's bill, calling for the provincial council elections. Now, speaking to Newsfirst yesterday, he said that this bill will be moved soon. Here's a look.
I have requested Parliament Business Committee to take up my private members bill for the amendment of the Provincial Council's Elections Act for second reading either on the 22nd or 23rd of August. The President has assured me that he will instruct the ministers, the Leader of the House and the Chief Government Whip to agree to this and to take it up for second reading by the end of August. He also wants the women and youth representation ensured and members of parliament also to be able to contest at provincial council elections. Now, those changes, if at all, have to be brought through committee stage amendments. Under the current constitution, I am not sure that will be permitted by the Attorney General, but that's a matter for the government to introduce any committee stage amendment. As far as I am concerned, the government has agreed to pass the amendment that I am bringing to enable the holding of the provincial council elections without delay. The President has also discussed several other features of the current constitution relating to power sharing arrangements that can be implemented immediately. I have told him that the proof of the pudding is in the eating and that we must see it implemented, not merely giving assurances of implementing those. We have agreed on a number of issues, but we'll have to wait to see whether those are done before the presidential election happens.
Well, that was President's Council M.S. Mandivan, representing the Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi, emphasizing on his proposal on the provincial council elections. Now, you might recall in 2022, Sri Lanka's central bank announced that they would be defaulting on servicing debt. Now, that's because the entire economy went into a crisis. Now, after that, Sri Lanka approached the International Monetary Fund, and a IMF supported extended fund facility was awarded to Sri Lanka with a sum of approximately $3 billion US. Now, we have got several tranches of this program, and currently an IMF delegation led by Senior Mission Chief Peter Brewer is in Sri Lanka along with Representative Sarwat Jahan. Now, they have been holding discussions with Sri Lankan stakeholders, including the President, and they had held a discussion last morning as well. Now, the aim of this discussion is to review the achievements made by Sri Lanka in terms of the extended fund facility. Now, yesterday, Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister, President's Council Ali Sabri, addressed journalists at the President's Media Centre. Now, questions were raised about Sri Lanka's position with regard to the IMF program. Now, you might recall just weeks ago, the Official Creditors Committee gave their assurance on Sri Lanka's debt restructuring, and the private creditors also put forward their proposal. Now, it's with the IMF and it's under review to ensure. Now, what the IMF is doing is they are analyzing and going through the proposal made by the private creditors to see if it matches with the program's parameters. So then, if all goes well, the debt restructuring can be completed. Now, President's Counsel Ali Sabri, speaking to reporters yesterday, said that although Sri Lanka has made significant progress with regard to debt restructuring, the country is still not out of the woods. He said much more needs to be done. Here's a look.
Now, 1 year down the line, now we have been able to conclude the entirety of the debt restructuring with the bilateral creditors. That's been 17 countries, and I'm glad to say that all of them have fully backed us and supported us and concluded it. We are not totally out of the economic crisis. We are not totally out of the woods. A long, long way to go. So that's why it's important. What is worked, what is tried and tested must continue. This is no time for any sort of experiment.
Minister, has the IMF communicated to the government of Sri Lanka with regard to the debt agreements reached with the private creditors?
Private creditors, I was updated about 3 days ago. It was not yet, so in the final stage of that.
And has Sri Lanka reached the latest tranche?
We got the tranche earlier. The next assessment will take place only after the elections, and that they will come here, and after that on the release will take place.
And for what it will be used for?
Generally we use it for different purpose, basically to support the budget support, so that you get it on a comparatively low interest rate, so that will support for the budget support.
Well, at the same time, the IMF delegation had also met with the opposition, including opposition leader Sajid Premadasa. Now, Dr. Harsha De Silva from the SJB said that the SJB delegation informed the IMF that they are looking at reviewing the IMF program that is given to Sri Lanka, and they have stressed that what needs is reforms with relief. Now, according to Dr. Harsha De Silva, who was speaking to Newsfirst Asoka Dias on the Pathikata program, the existing program given by the IMF represents something similar to an extended standby arrangement rather than an extended fund facility. Let's have a listen to what Dr. Harsha De Silva had to say.
අපේ නායක සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතුමා කෙලින්ම පීටර් බ්‍රුව ප්‍රධානියා ඔහුට ඍජුවම ප්‍රකාශ කර හිටියා reform.
SJB leader Sajid Premadasa directly informed senior IMF mission chief Peter Brewer of reforms with relief. We pointed out the issues surrounding the existing program. There are two types of IMF agreements. One is the standby agreement, which is a short-term program to address liquidity issues. The EFF is different from the SB agreement. We pointed out that this looks like an extended SB program instead of an EFF. This is basically bringing some sort of stability to the economy by increasing state tax revenue. We pointed out to the IMF that debt is not debt and growth is not growth. That means not all debt is the same. There are two types of debt. One is dollar denominated international debt. The other is rupee denominated domestic debt. There are two types of growth. One is domestic growth without external competition. For example, in 2012, during the tenure of Mahinda Rajapaksa, the growth was 9%. However, it was the result of the constructions in Hambantota. That was not something that could be sold internationally. The other growth type is based on an export-oriented economy. If the issue we have is dollar-based debt, the solution to that is not the rupee-denominated growth. It should be dollar-based international growth. That is the link. That is not happening. Therefore, we will have to undertake economic reforms by attracting such investments to the country. The structure will have to change.
තොරව ලැබෙන වර්ධනය ඒ කියන්නේ උදාහරණයක් ඒ අපනයන අභිමුඛ මාර්ගයට හරවන්න නම් අපිට ආර්ථිකයේ දිරිගැන්වීම සහ ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ කරන්න වෙන්නේ එවැනි ආයෝජන ලංකාවට ලබා ගන්න. ඒක මූලික වශයෙන්ම ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකේ view එකේ වෙනසක් කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
So Sri Lanka still awaits the decision from the International Monetary Fund on whether the proposals put forward by the creditors are in line with the program parameters and whether Sri Lanka is achieving the targets according to the extended fund facility awarded to Sri Lanka. Well, that brings a wrap to this morning edition of the Breakfast Rundown. I'll see you again on Monday right here on TV1 at 7 a.m. Until then, have a good day and have an absolutely amazing weekend.
Ten teams, 23 matches. ICC Women's T20 World Cup Bangladesh 2024 coming soon.
You want to create your life, this is your opportunity to change your destiny. සඳහි දක්ෂිණ ද්‍රවයට ගොඩ පැසූ අතර මේ ඔවුන්ගේ චන්ද්‍ර ගවේෂණයේ පළමු මෙහෙයුමයි.